Ag Bioscience, the #1 ag tech podcast globally, is now available on video. Hear from leaders and innovators across food, animal health, plant science, ag tech, and agriculture. Mondays at 6 a.m. on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. While you're there, subscribe and leave us a review. It's the Ag Bioscience Podcast with Agronovis Indiana. Get more information at agronovisindiana.com.
This is Inside Indiana Business Radio for the afternoon of Wednesday, August 12th, 2026. I'm Alex Brown. 16 Tech in Indianapolis has opened Traction, a new program designed to help entrepreneurs advance from the idea stage to building a prototype for their business. Entrepreneurship Director Andy Lehman said the goal is to create more of an early-stage entrepreneurial engine for people who are building physical products.
Especially at an early stage, folks need not just support, but sometimes technical assistance, especially when they're coming up with creative ideas to solve problems that are product-based.
The 9-week program will give entrepreneurs access to the machine makerspace at 16 Tech's HQO Innovation Hub and also provide weekly working sessions, one-on-one coaching, and access to technical experts. South Korea-based Samsung SDI said Tuesday it has acquired General Motors' stake in the Synergy Cells joint venture, which is behind the $3.5 billion electric vehicle battery manufacturing plant in New Carlisle. Samsung SDI said construction on the plant will continue and it will utilize the plant for producing high-tech batteries, initially for use in energy storage systems. The EV battery plant was originally scheduled to be operational by the end of 2027, but a new timeline for the building's completion was not immediately known. GM announced in May that construction on the facility was being paused to align production capacity with current demand. In a news release on Tuesday, Samsung SDI said the ownership change was made in consideration of market changes since the joint venture was announced, including the slower than expected growth of EV demand. From the #1 source for Indiana business news, this is Inside Indiana Business Radio.
Thanks for listening to this IBJ Media podcast. You're probably going to remember this ad. Do you know why? Podcast advertising works. 85% of listeners recalled hearing an ad during a podcast, and 70% of podcast listeners have acted after hearing an ad. So whether you're looking to be heard across the entire IBJ Media Podcast Network, sponsor one of our shows, or just start with a 30-second ad, IBJ Media can help. Contact advertise at ibj.com to learn more.
Higher education leaders from across the South Bend Elkhart region are getting a closer look at what employers need from the future workforce as colleges seek stronger ties with industry. The South Bend Elkhart Regional Partnership's Higher Education Advisory Council recently organized its first regional tour in Elkhart, taking college leaders to Chemcrest, Wellfield Botanic Gardens, and the Elkhart River District. Board Chair Susan Ford said the goal was to give educators a first-hand look at the businesses and development projects shaping the region and identify ways colleges can better prepare students for those opportunities.
I cannot express the level of academic horsepower that is in this room. We also have an unbelievable amount of business horsepower in the region. And I think that if we can find ways to better coordinate across both amongst the academic horsepower, amongst the business horsepower, and then how that all comes together, I think that's where the real opportunity is. Our biggest challenge as a community is not taking some big swings and kind of continuing to do little activity in parallel will get us more of the same. And I'm not certain any of us would say that that's good enough. We are not going to be Silicon Valley, but we are going to do some pretty cool things when you have a great academic base and a great manufacturing base.
The Higher Education Advisory Council was created to expand those connections across the region. The council will measure progress through outcomes such as graduates being hired directly from regional programs, internships turning into full-time jobs, and employers participating on curriculum advisory boards. Terre Haute-based Hallador Energy Co says work is progressing on its planned natural gas generation project at the Merrim Generating Station in Sullivan County. In the company's quarterly earnings report, CEO Brent Billsland said the project, now dubbed Turtle Creek, is expected to cost less than initially expected, with current estimates at less than $800 million. If the project is approved, Billsland said Turtle Creek could begin commercial operation in the second half of 2028. Naval Surface Warfare Center Crane Division and the Indiana National Guard cut the ribbon today on what is being billed as the nation's first ground-based sled track testing facility at Camp Atterbury. The facility is designed to simulate the high-speed flight environment of military aircraft. aircraft. NSWC Crane Technical Director Angela Lewis said it will provide the U.S. military with a unique testing asset that transforms how airborne expendable countermeasures, commonly known as flares, are developed and evaluated.
You can imagine the cost associated with testing flares, and the sled track will allow us to do that on the ground at Camp Atterbury, saving taxpayer dollars, improving safety for air crews by being able to send them more mature technology for those precious flight tests.
The sled track testing facility features a 578-foot track with a 402-foot opening, and the sled itself can reach speeds of up to Mach 1. USA Gymnastics CEO Kyle Albrecht is this week's guest on the Business and Beyond podcast with Gary Dick, presented by PNC, a weekly conversation with high-profile Hoosiers in business, sports, and entertainment, and beyond. Available now on the IBJ Media app or your favorite podcast provider. I'm Alex Brown for Inside Indiana Business Radio on Demand.